You know, for centuries, marble has been the stone of choice for humanity's most magnificent creations. From temples to cathedrals, these incredible structures show how one timeless material can transform buildings into masterpieces. Here's 15 of the most incredible marble structures. Let's start with number 15, the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque. Completed in 2007, the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi is one of the most visually striking marble structures in the world. It's named after Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the founding father of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and it was designed to symbolize cultural diversity and unity through architecture. It combines influences from Persian, Mughal, and Moorish styles, which blend traditional craftsmanship with contemporary engineering. The most distinctive feature is the use of white marble, specifically Sivek marble from Macedonia. It's known for its purity and uniform grain. More than 100,000 tons of marble were used to clad the domes, columns, and courtyards. The surfaces are inlaid with intricate floral patterns made from semi-precious stones, including lapis lazuli, amethyst, and mother of pearl, forming huge mosaics that are visible on the floors and walls. The mosque can accommodate over 40,000 people, with the main prayer hall alone holding 7,000. There are 82 domes of varying sizes, the largest of which rises over 279 feet above the ground. The construction involved more than 3,000 artisans, and it took over a decade to complete it. It sourced materials from multiple countries like Italy, Germany, India, and Greece, making it a global collaboration of craftsmanship. The marble courtyard, which has nearly 180,000 square feet, it features one of the world's largest marble mosaics. Inside, the white marble floor is complemented by crystal chandeliers made from Swarovski crystals and one of the largest hand-woven carpets in the world. And despite being a relatively new structure, it's already recognized as a masterpiece of marble architecture. In just over a decade, this mosque has become not only a center of worship, but one of the world's greatest monuments to marble. It's a great example of how this ancient material can still define the identity of modern structures. Number 14, the Victoria Memorial in India. Kolkata, the Victoria Memorial. It's one of the grandest marble monuments in the world. It was built during the British colonial period, commissioned in 1901 following the death of Queen Victoria. It was intended as a memorial to her reign and as a symbol of British imperial power to India. The structure was designed by architect Sir William Emerson and completed in 1921. It combines elements of British and Mughal architecture in a style that's described as Indo-Saracenic revival. The exterior is constructed almost entirely from white Makrana marble. This is the same quality stone used for the Taj Mahal. It covers about 64 acres and it's surrounded by gardens, reflecting pools, and walkways. That central dome, it rises 184 feet above the ground and it's topped by a bronze statue of Victory holding a trumpet. It's also mounted on ball bearings, so it rotates slightly with the wind. The main building features colonnades, porticos, and a grand central hall that leads to galleries filled with artifacts from the colonial period. The marble was adorned with bas-reliefs depicting scenes from Queen Victoria's life and reign, while the interiors feature Italian marble floors, marble staircases, and marble sculptures of British officials and Indian figures. The project employed thousands of people over nearly 15 years, and the marble was transported more than 1,000 kilometers from the quarries to Kolkata, using a combination of rail and river transport. Today, though, the memorial serves as a museum managed by the Government of India, housing over 25 galleries that include paintings, manuscripts, and relics from the British Raj. But beyond all the political history, the Victoria Memorial represents one of the most impressive uses of marble in colonial architecture. More than a century after its completion, it's still one of India's most visited monuments. Number 13, the Marble Temple of Thailand. Hopefully I can pronounce this right. Wat Benchamabofit, known in English as the Marble Temple, is one of Bangkok's most elegant temples. It was built at the turn of the 20th century, and it reflects Thailand's embrace of modernization while preserving Buddhist tradition. Designed by the Prince Narasara, a half-brother of the king, the temple presents a fusion of Thai architectural style with Western neoclassic influence. It's constructed almost entirely of Italian Carrara marble. That's the same type used in masterpieces like Michelangelo's David and the Pantheon in Rome. Its walls, pillars, and courtyard paving stones all gleam under the sun, which gives the temple its distinctive appearance. The marble was imported from Italy in huge quantities, which was an ambitious decision at the time when Thailand, then Siam, was still developing in modern infrastructure. The main ordination hall is the centerpiece of the complex. It features a multi-tiered roof adorned with golden chofas, which are bird finials common in Thai temples. Inside, a large golden Buddha statue known as the Praputta Chinarat sits at the altar. This statue is a replica of one of Thailand's most revered Buddha images, and it rests on a marble pedestal intricately carved with lotus motifs. Around the cloister, 52 Buddha images from different regions and periods of Thailand are displayed, each representing a unique artistic style. The temple also shows Western influences, which is pretty unusual for Thai religious architecture. For instance, the use of symmetrical layouts, stained-glass windows, and marble colonnades evoke a Renaissance aesthetic, yet they're harmonized with distinctly Thai ornamental details. This blend of East and West makes it unique among Bangkok's temples. It continues to function as an active monastery and a center for Buddhist learning. Its marble construction has stood the test of time, making it remarkably clean and intact due to Thailand's tropical climate being less harsh on marble than colder, wetter regions. The careful use of imported Carrara marble and Thai craftsmanship transformed it into one of Asia's most exquisite marble structures. It balances timeless serenity with beauty. Number 12. The Parthenon, Athens. Standing atop the Acropolis of Athens, the Parthenon is one of the most enduring symbols of classical architecture, and it's a masterwork of ancient marble construction. Completed in 438 BCE during the height of the Athenian Empire, it was dedicated to Athena Parthenos, the patron goddess of Athens. The Parthenon was designed by architects Ictinus and Callicrates under the supervision of sculptor Phidias, who also created the monumental statue of Athena that once stood there. Now, the structure is composed primarily of Pentelic marble, which is a fine-grained white marble quarried from Mount Pentelicus northeast of Athens. This particular marble is known for its subtle golden hue when exposed to sunlight. That's a result of iron oxide within the stone. Nearly every element of the temple, from its Doric columns to its sculpted pediments, was carved from this material. The transportation of these massive blocks required huge amounts of labor and ingenuity. Workers had to extract the marble blocks from the quarries, shape them roughly on site, then use wooden sleds and rollers to transport them down the mountain. They were then hauled by oxen and mules to the Acropolis, where the final shaping and polishing happened. The precision of the fit between each marble block is so fine that many joints required no mortar, only careful placement and alignment. The Parthenon, an Ottoman gunpowder store, exploded inside during a Venetian siege. Restoration efforts by Greek archaeologists continue, using original Pentelic marble from the same quarry to replace the damaged sections. Even in its ruined state, the Parthenon remains one of the most remarkable marble structures in human history. Number 11. The Marble Caves of Chile. Unlike most entries on this list that were built by human hands, the marble caves of Chile are a natural wonder formed entirely naturally. Located in the remote Patagonian Andes, these caves sit at the center of General Carrera Lake, also known as Lake Buenos Aires on the Argentine side. They were formed over thousands of years as waves eroded the calcium carbonate rock that makes up the peninsula. The result is a labyrinth of marble formations and tunnels, swirling walls that also reflect the turquoise water of the lake. It's beautiful. The marble itself is believed to be around 6,000 years old, consists mostly of calcium carbonate with traces of other minerals, which gives the formation shades of blue, green, and gray. Seasonal variations in water level and mineral content do affect the intensity of the color, which creates a visual spectacle that changes throughout the year. But access to the marble caves is only possible by boat. They sit offshore near the small town of Puerto Rio Tranquillo. Visitors can explore the main formations here, known as the Marble Chapel, the Marble Cathedral, and the Marble Caves. The chapel is perhaps the most famous, an isolated marble outcrop with thin columns supporting an undulating ceiling carved by water. These caves were first brought to wider public attention in the 20th century, though local communities had known of them for generations. And because the marble formations are part of a natural process, they're fragile and protected under Chilean law. No permanent human structures have been built nearby to preserve their condition. Scientists studying this site have noted that its erosion rate is slow but ongoing, meaning that the formations are still changing subtly each year. Though it's far from any major city and accessible only by a long travel route, the Marble Caves has become a symbol of Chile's natural beauty. They're one of the few places on the planet where marble can be seen in its raw form, untouched by carving tools or construction. Nature itself, if given enough time and pressure, can create structures just as intricate and breathtaking as any made by humans. Number 10. The Lincoln Memorial. Completed in 1922, the Lincoln Memorial is one of the most recognized marble structures in the United States. Located between the western end of the National Mall in Washington, D.C., it was designed by architect Henry Bacon in the style of a Greek Doric temple, inspired by the Parthenon in Athens. The memorial's purpose was to honor President Abraham Lincoln, who led the country through the Civil War and helped abolish slavery. The exterior is constructed from Yule marble. That's a high-quality white marble quarried in Colorado. Chosen for its brightness and fine grain, the marble gave the memorial its clean, monumental appearance that still remains intact after more than a century. The structure is about 190 feet long, 119 feet wide, and about 99 feet tall, surrounded by 36 fluted Doric columns, each representing a state in the Union at the time of Lincoln's death in 1865. Inside sits the iconic statue of Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Daniel Chester French and carved by the Piccirilli brothers of New York. The statue is 19 feet tall and weighs about 175 tons. It's also made entirely from Yule marble. French's design portrays Lincoln seated, deep in thought, symbolizing the gravity and humility of his leadership. Above the statue are inscriptions of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and the Second Inaugural Address carved directly into the walls. Because of the memorial's marble components, the project did face some numerous logistical challenges. Transporting massive marble blocks from quarries in Colorado required a combination of rail and wagon routes. Despite the challenges, though, the use of American marble was intentional. Bacon wanted the entire memorial to be sourced from within the United States as a symbol of national strength. Over the decades, it's become a gathering place for important historical moments, including the Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech in 1963. The Lincoln Memorial is a remarkable example of marble craftsmanship on a grand scale. The combination of architecture, sculptural artistry, and symbolic power makes it one of the most incredible marble structures in the world. The choice of marble not only gave the monument its elegance and strength, but it also connected it to the classical ideals of democracy that inspired its design. Number 9. The Duomo di Carrara, Italy. In the marble-producing capital of the world, Carrara, stands a cathedral built from the very material that defines the region's identity. The Duomo di Carrara, also known as Carrara Cathedral, was constructed between the 11th and 14th centuries and dedicated to St. Andrew the Apostle. It is one of the earliest and most complete examples of a Romanesque Gothic church built entirely of local stone. The facade of the cathedral is a showcase of craftsmanship. It features alternating bands of white and gray marble arranged in geometric patterns. The front rose window, framed by intricately carved marble columns and arches, allows light to filter into the nave, creating a soft reflection on the polished floor. The facade's details, like lions, saints, and floral motifs, are all hand-carved from marble, quarried just a few kilometers away. The pulpit and the baptismal font, both carved from Carrara marble, display exquisite detail and a precision that foreshadows the city's later reputation. The use of the same marble throughout the interior gives the space a sense of unity and calm, enhanced by the natural variations in the stone's veining. Over the centuries, it underwent several restorations, but always with marble from the same quarries that supplied the original builders. That continuity gives the structure an authenticity that's rarely seen in medieval architecture. The bell tower, completed in the 14th century, rises above the city, also faced in marble, and it's capped with an octagonal spire that gleams in the sun. The Romans first exploited Carrara's quarries in the 1st century BCE, and by the time the Duomo was built, the city's wealth and prestige were closely tied to that trade. The cathedral, therefore, was a religious and a civic statement, an assertion of Carrara's importance as the marble capital of Europe. Unlike other monuments that import marble from far away, this one embodies the direct connection between a place and its stone, a living monument that's carved from the mountain on which the town was built. The beauty of Carrara's marble reaches its purest expression not only in sculpture, but in the walls of its own cathedral. Number 8. The U.S. Supreme Court Building. Completed in 1935, the United States Supreme Court building. It's one of the most iconic marble structures in modern American architecture. It was designed by architect Cass Gilbert, who also created the Woolworth Building in New York. It was built to embody strength, stability, and dignity of the nation's highest court. Gilbert envisioned the building as a temple of justice, drawing inspiration from classical Greek and Roman architecture to symbolize the rule of law and the permanence of democracy. The exterior is faced with Vermont Imperial Danby marble, a fine-grained white marble known for its subtle gray veining. The interior corridors and public spaces feature Alabama marble, while the courtroom itself was lined with Spanish ivory marble, which creates a warm and stately contrast. The building's massive foundation and structural components also use Georgia marble. At the front of the building stands a grand staircase of marble leading to a colonnaded portico. The 16 Corinthian columns, each nearly 50 feet tall, support a pediment sculpted by Robert Aitken. The central relief, titled Equal Justice Under Law, depicts allegorical figures representing the principles of American justice. Moving inside, the use of marble continues throughout. The Great Hall is lined with columns and floors leading to the courtroom where the justices deliberate. Even the benches, the door frames, and decorative panels are all carved from marble, which shows an extraordinary level of craftsmanship and an attention to detail. Also, the building's acoustic design, important for oral arguments, benefits from the density of the marble walls, which reflect sound evenly. The construction process took nearly 4 years, and it cost around $9 million, which was considerable at the time. Much of the marble was transported by rail, and the sculptors spent years carving all the details. But despite its monumental appearance, the building is also practical. It has offices for all 9 justices, library facilities, and numerous administrative areas, all integrated into a structure that remains visually cohesive thanks to the use of marble. Today, it's both a functional institution and a national symbol. That marble construction projects an image of integrity and timelessness. It reinforces the authority of the judicial branch, and it remains one of the most impressive examples of marble architecture in the modern world. Moving on to number 7, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus in Turkey. Although now largely in ruins, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus is one of the most celebrated marble structures of ancient history. It was built around 350 BCE in what is now Bodrum in Turkey, and it served as the tomb of Mausolus, a satrap or governor of the Persian Empire, and his wife Artemisia II. The monument was so renowned that it gave rise to the word mausoleum itself. The mausoleum was made primarily from white Proconnesian marble. It was quarried from an island in the Sea of Marmara and transported across the Aegean Sea. According to ancient accounts by Pliny the Elder and others, the building stood about 148 feet tall, making it one of the tallest and most elaborate tombs of the ancient world. On top of the roof stood a massive marble quadriga, a sculpture of Mausolus and Artemisia riding a chariot drawn by 4 horses. The entire monument was richly decorated with marble reliefs and statues carved by 4 of the most famous sculptors of the age, Scopas, Bryaxis, Leochares, and Timotheus. Each sculptor was responsible for one side of the monument, which resulted in a harmonious artistic style. Fragments of the carvings survive today and are housed in the British Museum, where they provide invaluable insight into ancient Greek history. The marble reliefs depicted mythological battles including Greek versus the Amazons and the Centaurs versus the Lapiths. For nearly 17 centuries, the mausoleum stood intact and admired by travelers. It eventually collapsed, though, due to a series of earthquakes between the 2nd and 15th centuries. Many of its marble blocks were later repurposed by the Knights of St. John in the construction of Bodrum Castle. Despite its destruction, though, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus remains one of the most studied marble monuments ever built. Even in its ruined state, the site continues to convey the ambition of ancient marble architecture. It's proof that the desire to achieve immortality through stone has long outlived the rulers who sought it. Number 6. The Washington Monument. Standing tall above the National Mall, the Washington Monument is one of the most recognizable marble structures in the world. Completed in 1884 and dedicated in 1885, it honors George Washington, the first President of the United States. Its clean geometric form and monumental scale made it the tallest structure in the world at the time of completion, standing 555 feet or 169 meters high. That was a record it held until the Eiffel Tower surpassed it in 1889. The monument's construction was a long process that spanned nearly 40 years. The initial cornerstone was laid in 1848, but work was halted in 1854 due to funding shortages and the onset of the American Civil War. Construction resumed in 1879 under the supervision of Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Casey of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Because the project took place over such an extended period, the monument's marble came from two different quarries, one in Texas, Maryland, and one later in Massachusetts, resulting in a visible color change about 1/3 of the way up the tower. The outer marble panels were carefully cut and fitted, which gives the monument its smooth, reflective surface. Unlike earlier monuments that relied on columns or ornamentation, the Washington Monument was designed as a pure geometric form, an obelisk inspired by ancient Egyptian prototypes but executed with modern precision. Each marble block weighs several tons, and the entire structure weighs more than 80,000 tons. The use of marble on such a scale required some innovative techniques, including a steam-powered hoist to lift the blocks into place. The capstone, a small pyramid-shaped marble block topped with an aluminum apex, was set on December 6, 1884. Inside the monument, a double staircase and an elevator system allow people to reach the observation deck, and the interior walls feature over 190 commemorative stones donated by states, cities, and foreign governments, many of which are also carved from marble. Despite its simplicity, though, the monument's strength and durability come from the inherent qualities of the stone, durability and a sense of permanence, and over the years it's undergone several restoration efforts, including repairs following the 2011 earthquake that caused cracks in the marble panels. Each restoration continues to use compatible marble to maintain both appearance and integrity. The monument stands as a tribute not just to Washington himself, but to the lasting role marble has played in expressing the ideals of democracy, strength, and unity. It's a structure that's come to define both the city and the nation it represents. Number 5. The Doge's Palace, Venice, Italy. The Doge's Palace, Palazzo Ducale in Venice, is one of the most extraordinary marble buildings of the medieval world. It's constructed primarily between the 4th and 15th centuries. It served as the residence of the Doge, the elected ruler of Venice, and as the seat of government, housing the city's courtrooms, council chambers, and prisons. The exterior facade is clad in two tones of Istrian marble, which is a limestone from Croatia's Adriatic coast, and pink Verona marble from northern Italy. The result is a patterned facade of diamond-shaped designs that shimmer in the sun and reflect beautifully on the nearby Grand Canal. The palace's lower arcades are supported by intricately carved marble columns and pointed arches, which is typical of the Venetian Gothic style. Each column features different capitals, some depicting scenes from the Bible and others showing allegories of justice, faith, and civic virtue. The arcade above it, adorned with a quatrefoil, openings in the marble tracery, adds an airy elegance that contrasts with the heavy masonry. Inside, it's equally rich in marble. The grand staircases are lined with polished marble. The courtyard features marble pavements arranged in geometric patterns, while the marble door frames, columns, and decorative panels appear throughout the complex. Venetian craftsmen were known for their precision and artistry, and they worked alongside sculptors from across Italy to achieve the remarkable level of detail here. The Doge's Palace also connects directly to Venice's most famous prison via the Bridge of Sighs, another structure made of white Istrian marble. Prisoners once crossed this marble bridge to face sentencing, glimpsing the Venetian lagoon through this tiny barred windows for the last time. Despite centuries of salt air, humidity, and flooding, the Doge's Palace has survived remarkably well. Unlike softer varieties of marble, this one resists erosion and sea spray, which makes it ideal for a lagoon environment. Today, the Doge's Palace is one of Europe's great masterpieces of marble architecture. It's a symbol of Venice's political power and artistic innovation. It continues to captivate people with the subtle beauty of marble carved into lace-like form. Number 4. The Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. Alright, staying in Italy, I guess. Perhaps no marble structure in the world is as instantly recognizable, or as unintentionally distinctive, as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Officially known as the Torre di Pisa, this freestanding bell tower is part of a central cathedral complex. Construction began in 1173, and it spanned nearly 200 years. It was interrupted in times due to wars and funding issues, and most infamously, the discovery that the tower was tilting as it was being built. It stands about 56 meters, or 183 feet, and it was constructed primarily from white and gray San Giuliano marble, quarried from nearby Mount Paesano. This local marble, which was admired for its purity and soft tone, was chosen to match the adjacent cathedral and baptistery. The use of this kind of stone gave the entire complex a unified appearance that reflected Pisa's prosperity during its era as a maritime republic. Each gallery is supported by carved marble columns and decorative arches, and the marble surface is decorated with reliefs, geometric designs, and inlays of the typical Pisan Romanesque tradition. The tower began to lean before the third story was even complete, due to its foundation being built on soft, unstable soil composed of clay and sand. As construction continued, builders attempted to compensate by slightly adjusting the upper levels, creating a subtle curve that's visible still to this day. Ironically, the pauses in construction over the next 2 centuries allowed the soil to settle somewhat, which did prevent immediate collapse. Despite the tilt, it was completed in 1372, and it quickly became a source of local pride and a symbol of flawed perfection. Over the centuries, numerous stabilization efforts have been undertaken, including removing soil from beneath the high side and reinforcing the base with counterweights and steel cables. Between 1990 and 2001, engineers carried out one of the most ambitious restoration projects in history, reducing the lean from 5.5 degrees to about 3.97 degrees, enough to ensure its stability for centuries. Today, it's more than a curiosity. It's an example of marble as both an aesthetic and structural material. Even as it defies gravity, it still endures as a global icon of medieval engineering, and one of the world's most famous marble buildings. Number 3. The Milan Cathedral. The Milan Cathedral, or Duomo di Milano, is a work of architecture that took nearly 6 centuries to complete, and it became the soul of Milan itself. It's built almost entirely from Candolia marble. This Gothic monumental cathedral is both an artistic masterpiece and a remarkable feat of engineering. Its construction began in 1386 under the patronage of the Duke of Milan, Gian Galeazzo Visconti, and it would not reach its final form until the 20th century. It's an ongoing dialogue between generations of architects, sculptors, and stonemasons, united by a single vision and a single material. The decision to build in marble rather than brick, which was common in the region, set the Duomo apart from the beginning. Candolia marble was prized for its crystalline texture and pale pink-white hue, which did reflect light in ways that gave the cathedral an almost ethereal presence. Quarried in the Candolia Valley near Lake Maggiore, the marble had to travel about 100 kilometers to Milan, using a network of canals and rivers. Once in Milan, the marble was cut and polished by hundreds of people who worked in workshops around the construction site, and their tools were simple: chisels, hammers, and copper saws lubricated with water and sand. But the results were extraordinary. Despite being carved centuries apart, the marble elements fit together with astonishing precision. The cathedral's design evolved even as the construction progressed. Early on, French and German architects introduced high vaults, flying buttresses, and pointed arches, which are elements typical of Gothic cathedrals, but the Italian builders softened those features with a more balanced and ornamental sensibility. The result was a uniquely Italian Gothic style, grand yet graceful, dense with detail yet harmonious. The facade begun in 1387 but not completed until the 19th century. It remains one of the most ornate ever made. Thousands of statues, pinnacles, and reliefs, all carved from the same marble, cover the exterior like lace frozen in stone. More than 200,000 tons of marble make up the cathedral's walls, spires, and decorations. The building covers over 100,000 square feet and can hold up to 40,000 people. The 135 marble spires reach upwards like a forest of stone, each one capped with statues of saints, angels, and biblical figures. These sculptures, over 3,400 in total, were carved by hand over the centuries by countless artisans. Inside, the effect of the marble is just as powerful. The interior is supported by 52 massive pillars, one for each week of the year, rising to 24 meters in height. The floor is a geometric masterpiece of inlaid marble mosaics composed of contrasting black, red, and white marbles arranged in intricate patterns. The cathedral's completion was a long and complicated process. Work slowed during the 15th and 16th centuries as political instability gripped Milan. When Napoleon Bonaparte entered the city in 1805, he ordered the facade to be finished in time for his coronation as King of Italy. French architects inspired by Gothic revival trends completed the front elevation under his direction, using the same marble and continuing the original design. One of the coolest features of the cathedral is the roof, which can be accessed by stair or elevator, and from above visitors can walk along the marble spires and see close up the statues that otherwise seem distant from below. The roof is entirely made of marble slabs and buttresses, which creates an open terrace unlike any other Gothic cathedral. Every inch of the cathedral, even where no one was meant to see, is finished in marble. But maintenance of the cathedral remains an ongoing challenge. Each year, stonemasons and restorers inspect every surface, replace weathered statues and repairing cracks, and when replacements are needed, new marble blocks are still quarried from the same source, transported along the same canal routes. The process has actually changed very little in 600 years, only the tools are modern. Today, standing in Piazza del Duomo, one can't help but be overwhelmed by its presence. The marble facade rises like a mountain of stonework. Its details are so fine they seem impossible to have been made by humans. The spires, the statues, and carvings all radiate the same pale light. Step inside in the coolness of the marble underfoot, the faint echo of footsteps, and the filtered glow of colored light combine to create a sense of timelessness. It feels less like entering a building than stepping into a living organism made of stone and light. Few structures in human history have achieved such harmony between vision and material. The Milan Cathedral is simply not a church. It's an eternal conversation between marble and time. Number 2. The Marble Arch of London, England. At the northern corner of Hyde Park is one of London's most recognizable marble monuments, the Marble Arch. It was constructed between 1827 and 1833, and it was originally designed as a triumphal gateway to Buckingham Palace by architect John Nash, one of the most prominent figures in Georgian and Regency architecture. Nash modeled the arch after the Arch of Constantine in Rome, which blended classical Roman proportions with the clean white appearance of Carrara marble from Italy. Sourced from the quarries near Carrara in Tuscany, this stone's fine grain and pure white tone made it ideal for sculptural detail. The structure consists of 3 arches, a large central opening flanked by 2 smaller side arches, supported by Corinthian columns and decorated with ornamental friezes. Originally intended as a ceremonial entrance to Buckingham Palace, the arch was meant to mark the grandeur of the British monarchy during the reign of King George IV. However, after Nash's dismissal and modifications to the palace, the arch was deemed too narrow for the royal coach. In 1851, it was dismantled and moved piece by piece into its current location near Hyde Park, where it now serves as a landmark at the junction of Oxford Street, Park Lane, and Edgware Road. The sculpture work on the Marble Arch was commissioned from some of Britain's leading artists. Sir Richard Westmacott designed reliefs depicting Britain's naval and military victories, while Edward Hodges Bailey, best known for creating the statue of Admiral Nelson atop Nelson's column, carved several of the decorative figures. Though some of the planned sculptures were never completed due to cost overruns, the existing reliefs remain among the finest examples of early 19th century marble carving. Restoration efforts in the 20th century did include careful polishing and some minor replacement of damaged blocks using marble from the same source. Today, the arch is no longer used as a gateway. It stands isolated on a traffic island, but its symbolism endures. It represents the peak of Britain's 19th century architectural ambition and the global trade connections that made such projects possible. Few monuments do so fully capture the refinement and adaptability of marble, sculpted in Italy, designed in London, relocated and preserved for nearly 2 centuries. Number 1. The Taj Mahal, Agra, India. The Taj Mahal is arguably the most famous marble structure on the planet. It was built between 1632 and 1653 under the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. It was commissioned as a mausoleum for his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who died during childbirth. It's located on the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra, India. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most visited landmarks in the entire world. The complex covers about 42 acres and includes gardens, reflecting pools, and subsidiary buildings. The central mausoleum, which houses the tomb of Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan, is constructed almost entirely of white Makrana marble. This marble is known for its purity and translucence, which allows it to reflect and slightly change color depending on the time of day. At dawn, it glows pinkish. Under midday sunlight, it shines bright white, and under moonlight, it appears golden or bluish. The design combines Persian, Islamic, and Indian traditions. The main dome rises about 240 feet high and is flanked by 4 minarets that tilt slightly outwards, which was a deliberate design choice to protect the main tomb from collapse in the event of an earthquake. The marble surfaces are decorated with dura inlays, a technique that uses semi-precious stones like jade, turquoise, lapis lazuli, and carnelian. Artisans carefully cut and fitted these stones to form floral and geometric patterns across the walls and archways. Its construction employed more than 20,000 artisans and workers, along with the architects from across the Mughal Empire and Central Asia. The marble was transported on ox-drawn carts from the Makrana quarries, located about 250 kilometers away. Records indicate that specially designed ramp systems were used to raise the heavy marble blocks to the upper sections of the structure. But over the centuries, the Taj Mahal has faced some challenges from pollution, environmental changes, and overcrowding. The white marble is susceptible to discoloration from air pollution and acid rain, which prompted conservation efforts that include regular cleaning using a natural clay pack technique called multani mitti. Despite these efforts, the structure does retain much of its original beauty and precision. The Taj Mahal is more than a symbol of love. It is a masterwork of marble engineering that shows how human creativity and natural materials can unite to create something timeless.